From its conception to its meaning, Guns N' Roses' most famous song, Sweet Child of Mine, hides more than you can imagine, so much so that it can even make you stop liking the song.
Welcome to Trembol Podcast, the place for music stories that thrill.
The story behind Guns N' Roses' Sweet Child of Mine. Let's start with the facts. Sweet Child of Mine is a song by the hard rock group Guns N' Roses that was released as the third single from their first album, Appetite for Destruction, in 1987. The first two singles, It's So Easy and Welcome to the Jungle, had been a failure, although the latter would later become one of the flagship songs of Guns N' Roses. It seemed like the group wasn't going anywhere until Sweet Child of Mine came to the rescue. Within a couple of months, the song hit #1, and with it, the full album. But how did Sweet Child of Mine come about? Guns N' Roses was rehearsing at their home in Los Angeles. During a break, the guitarist, Slash, began to play a melody that he describes as silly, which sounded like circus. Guns N' Roses drummer, Steven Adler, heard it and asked Slash to repeat it. He didn't want to because he said it was silly and that he didn't like it, but he insisted and played his guitar riff again. Then the second guitarist, Izzy Stradlin, added other chords, and bassist Duff McKagan created a bass line. In a matter of 5 minutes, they had composed the main part of a rock classic and one of the most mythical guitar riffs of all time. Axl Rose, upon hearing it, immediately thought of a poem he had recently written to his girlfriend at the time, Erin Everly.
She's got a smile that it seems to me reminds me of childhood memories where everything was as fresh as the bright blue sky.
When the band recorded the demo, their producer Spencer Proffer suggested adding something different to the end of the song. Axl Rose began to ask himself, "What do I do? Where are we going? Where do we go? Where do we go now?" Proffer, his producer, suggested that he sing it, and from there came the legendary ending of Sweet Child of Mine, in which they repeat over and over again. By the way, when Slash is asked about the subject, he says that he hated it because it had all started as a joke, although over time he has changed his mind. In his case, Axl Rose said,
Everything came together. Many rock bands are too weak to have any feeling or emotion in any of their stuff, unless they are suffering. It's the first positive love song I've ever written, but I guess I've never had anyone to write something so positive about.
Axl Rose and Erin Everly's toxic love that inspired Sweet Child of Mine. To understand the story, you have to go back to when Axl Rose was 3 years old. His mother, who had given birth to him as a teenager of only 16 years old, divorced his father, later marrying a reverend with a very bad temper. This reverend became his stepfather and his nightmare. He beat him, his mother, and the other 2 children they had together. But it didn't stop there. Axl confessed that that man named Stephen L. Bailey, who died in 1992, also sexually abused him. Since then, Axl suffered from bipolar disorder, with periods of great aggressiveness, even attempting suicide in 1989 with an overdose of painkillers. A few years earlier, in 1986, at the age of 24, Axl began a relationship with model Erin Everly, whose father was Don Everly of the famous band Everly Brothers. You might know them for
Whenever I want you, all I have to do is dream.
They were both madly in love, you know, the typical couple who spends all day kissing. But all that glittered was not gold. When they were not hugging each other, they were beating each other. So much so that their relationship became very toxic. One day, after one of his typical fights, Axl hit Erin hard. Repentant, he went to a bar and wrote a love poem dedicated to her on a napkin. You won't believe it, but that text would be the embryo of the lyrics of Sweet Child o' Mine. Unfortunately, Axl's fits of anger only got worse. Fed up with the situation, his girlfriend Erin decided to return home. It was 1989, and Erin says that Axl followed her home, beat her, pulled out a gun, and pointed it at her head, telling her that she would not put down the gun until she agreed to marry him. The wedding would be held in 1990, and Erin soon became pregnant. Unfortunately, things didn't get any better. In fact, in one of the beatings Axl gave her, she had an abortion. That was the culmination, and finally Erin left Axl, divorcing in 1991. A few years later, Erin sued Axl for all the damages he had caused her. One of the pieces of evidence he presented against him before the judge would be the song, "Sweet Child of Mine." Some fans, after learning about the story, stopped appreciating the song, and Axl Rose, because of the hard background it hides. Others separated the music from the person and remained fans of Guns N' Roses and Sweet Child of Mine. What do you think? Let us know in the comments. The best parts of Sweet Child of Mine. Let's start with the first verse when Axl begins singing and tells us about everything this super special girl inspires him.
She got a smile that it seems to me reminds me of childhood memories where everything was as red as the bright blue sky. Now and then when I see her face, it takes me away to that special place. And if I stay up too long, probably break down and cry.
Among the most remarkable parts of the track is Slash's legendary guitar solo. Unbelievably, it was cut in the radio version of the song. We can't forget the final part with the famous "Where do we go now?" Axl's singing is brutal. Truth behind the lyrics of Sweet Child of Mine. The lyrics of the song are beautiful, but they hide a lot of pain, the one that Axl feels when he remembers his childhood. In the first verse, he says,
She's got a smile that, it seems to me, reminds me of childhood memories where everything was as fresh as the bright blue sky. Now and then when I see her face, she takes me away to that special place, and if I stare too long, I'd probably break down and cry.
He describes his partner as someone beautiful who reminds him of his childhood. Axl explained that as a child, he spent a lot of time looking at the blue sky, wishing he could disappear into it and escape the constant abuse he suffered. In the second verse, he says,
She's got eyes of the bluest skies as if they thought of rain. I hate to look into those eyes and see an ounce of pain.
This part is somewhat contradictory. She says that she would hate to see pain in her partner's eyes, but Axl spent much of their relationship hurting her. He goes on to say,
Her hair reminds me of a warm, safe place where, as a child, I'd hide and pray for the thunder and the rain to quietly pass me by.
He goes back to those memories where he hid from his stepfather, waiting for the violence to pass. Axl dragged everything he had suffered as a child into adulthood, becoming an abuser himself. At the end of the song, he does not stop rhetorically asking his partner what the meaning of their relationship is.
Where do we go? Where do we go now, Sweet Child of Mine?
Fun facts about Sweet Child of Mine. Sweet Child of Mine was the first song of the 80s to reach 1,000 million views on YouTube. They achieved it in 2019. It currently exceeds 1,600 million. All of the band's girlfriends at the time, 1987, appear in the video for Sweet Child O' Mine, including Axl Rose's Erin Everly. The original song had a third verse that Axl had written, but it was cut because the record company thought the song was too long. Sheryl Crow's version of Sweet Child O' Mine, genius or disaster? In 1999, Sheryl Crow did a cover of Sweet Child O' Mine for the film A Cool Dad. Sheryl would get a Grammy for Best Female Rock Performance for this cover. Sheryl is not the only one who has covered Sweet Child O' Mine. Victoria Bergsman, in her solo project known as Taken by Trees, covered it in 2009.
Now and then when I see your face, but
Another of the most remembered versions occurred during halftime of the 2011 Super Bowl. Over the course of the Black Eyed Peas performance, Guns N' Roses guitarist Slash joined the group's singer, Fergie, to perform the song. Another very cool version is from the 2016 film Captain Fantastic, where the actors sing it in the final scene. Going back to Sheryl Crow, without a doubt her version of Sweet Child of Mine is the most popular, but the truth is that it provokes both love and hate. Some Guns N' Roses fans criticize her, claiming that the country and acoustic touch steals the essence of the song, while many others praise Sheryl for her originality and good taste in singing. What do you think? Tell us in the comments.
Axl Rose said that Guns N' Roses didn't want to be the typical hard rock band who hardly show their feelings because they were afraid of romantic songs. He was certainly right, because Sweet Child O' Mine has become one of the most important rock ballads of all time. Thank you very much for joining us. We hope you liked the story. If so, please support Trembol by subscribing, sharing the video, or giving us a super thanks that you will find below the video.
Thank you very much, Trembles. We love you.